doing some fundraising. So let's start things off by introducing a local Providence man who has been in New York, and he's bringing some local theater to Rhode Island in Providence. So I'd like to introduce Sam Hood Adrain. Wait, did I get that right? Now I've been confused. Sam's around the corner. He's an actor, playwright, and director, co-artistic director of What Will the Neighbors Say? Sam, come on in. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. We were just discussing last names, so I apologize.
That's all right. It's common.
My goodness gracious. All right. So you have a really neat thing going on here. You're in town for about a month. What Will the Neighbors Say? And you are talking. You're doing the Diana tapes and Untitled Shape Show, and so great to talk to you. You're from Providence.
I am, yeah.
And you're with a couple friends, but also coworkers,
Exactly,
putting this on. So talk to me a little bit about just What Will the Neighbors Say? Talk to me just a little bit about what it is and the mission of your company.
Yeah, so our mission is to provoke questions through untold stories. And we were officially founded in December of 2016, so just this past year. And we are 4 co-artistic directors. And we all met while we were studying at the Experimental Theater Wing at NYU Tisch. And after we graduated, we found that we continued to work together and liked each other's work ethic as well as the work that we were putting out there, and decided to create this company. So our first official show was a show that I wrote called Sources of Light Other Than the Sun, which was a show about World War I that took place in the trenches. And immediately following that, we took, in her own words, the Diana tapes, which is the show that we're doing here in Providence, to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland.
Oh, cool.
And we came back from Scotland and we loved our time there. And we loved working with each other and said, you know what? Let's make it official. Let's do this together. So 4 of us, co-artistic directors, yes, in her own words, the Diana tapes, was the show that we did in Scotland, and we will be opening that here in Providence on June 9th and running for the rest of the month.
And I love this concept because you have taken this group that you've worked with and you're bringing it here, and you're at the SEG Hub, and you're putting on the show. Talk to me a little bit about how you decided to bring it here, because it's kind of multifaceted on why you brought it to Providence and why you brought it to that location.
Exactly.
And
so we're calling this a Rhode Island residency, which is really our excuse to move here for the month and do shows and live in my parents' houses and enjoy my hometown, but also bring the work that I've been doing and working here. So we received a grant from the Rhode Island Foundation, which was for this other show that we're doing, which is a new musical for young audiences called Untitled Shape Show.
And we'll get to that in a minute.
Exactly.
I want to talk about that separately,
so
which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I wrote the book for that, and we thought, well, what better place to use the money that was given to us than bringing it back here. So I've always wanted to give back to the theater community in Providence, which fostered my love for acting and for the arts. And so, when the opportunity arose, we said, okay, we're going to do the Shape Show. And then we realized, we're going to be in Rhode Island anyway. We have this Diana show ready to go. We're looking forward to bring the show to bigger venues, but this is actually our first American audience of, in her own words, the Diana tapes. And, we weren't...
the U.S. premiere?
It is the U.S. regional premiere of, in her own words, the Diana tapes.
Cool!
So we're using Providence as the beta test to see if American audiences respond as well as the Scots did. Because in Scotland, there is a very long history with the royal family, with the monarchs.
Oh, yeah.
And people have very strong opinions either way about
Yeah, that's true. Are people still kind of obsessive over it? Or
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we would be handing out flyers on the street in Scotland, and people would be like, I'm not going to take that. I hate them. So that was a big thing there. People really care. And so, we said, let's bring it here. Let's come to Providence and see how the American audiences feel.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this show, just kind of what went into it, and tell us what people can expect.
Yeah, so the show is written by company member James Clements. He was a history major, double majored in history and acting at NYU, and as part of his thesis, he wrote about Princess Diana and sort of her influence on pop culture. And so through that research, he sort of fell in love, and he discovered this story, the story that we're telling, which is about the book by Andrew Morton, which came out in the 90s. And it was a biography of Diana, which at the time was said to have been sourced from friends and colleagues. But it turns out she was actually the secret source of the tapes.
Oh my gosh.
Of all the information. So she would record the tapes, give them to a friend who would meet the writer at a dingy London cafe, pass the tapes. He would then take them back to his publisher's office. And it turned into this whole sort of cat and mouse espionage kind of game. The publisher's office was broken into, probably by MI5. And it was this clandestine experience. And so it came out after her death, Andrew Morton revealed that actually she was the source of the book. So this play explores, imagined scenes between Diana and her friend and the writer, and the writer and the publisher. And I play Michael O'Mara, who's the book's publisher. And it is a tense, quick-paced thriller. I mean, it's only 9 scenes, it's an hour long, but it gets right to the core of the sort of heartache and trouble and, frankly, the private story of a woman whose public life was on display for everyone to not only know and see, but be super involved in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It must be interesting too to just take a look and be able to explore that journey. And I like to only an hour, so you're in and out.
Exactly.
You get it. You get the artistic side. You get to experience it. You get the fast moving, and then you're done.
Exactly. And in the days of social media, the idea of public versus private life, the lines are kind of blurred.
Yeah.
And so that's really what this play deals with. Even though it's a story that happened 20 years ago, before the internet was as ubiquitous as it is now, it really gets to the core of who are we in public, who are we in private, and how do people judge those two different sides of ourselves.
Fascinating. Oh, looking forward to that. So this starts soon. You guys he literally, we were emailing back and forth, hey, when can you come in town? Can you come in town, next week? He's like, actually, I don't get there till June 1st. And we're like, oh, okay, we're setting this up like a month ago.
We loaded up my dad's van with all of our set and all of our actors and drove from New York yesterday. Started rehearsals for the Shape Show this morning and start rehearsals for Diana on Monday, which we open a week from today.
That's amazing. Okay, so when can people come see you, come find you? It's just going on for a month, right?
We're going to run starting June 9th. We run Fridays and Saturdays at 8, and then Sundays at 3.
You're like, oh, let me double check my schedule, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sundays at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Okay, perfect.
And so 4 shows a weekend, and we're running all the way to July 2nd. So that's 4 weekends, 16 opportunities to see the show. And tickets are available on our website, which is www.tns.org.
Okay, and so you tell me about the Social Enterprise Greenhouse, because this is where you're performing, the SEG Hub. It's in Duval Square, so kind of unique. It's not a playhouse.
Not at all. No, it's actually an sort of a open plan office space. And so my dad actually was one of the founding members of this SEG Hub. And when I was telling him, we're bringing the Shape Show to Providence, he said, there's not really a lot happening there on the weekends. It's kind of a big open space. What do you think? Do you guys want to do something? So very generously, we worked with the people at SEG, and they're looking to get more people to know what they are doing there. And they're doing some really great work. It is a 24-hour access communal workspace.
Cool.
So members can go, have access to internet, and a place to sit down and relax. Whatever kind of work they need to do, they can use as their office space. And so what we're going to do is move all of the office stuff aside, black out all the windows, and every night set up a playing space, set up a theater. So we have some curtains, we've got chairs, we've got clip lights, the whole 9 yards, costume sets, everything. And so we will build essentially the stage every night and be there to perform. So it's sort of like guerrilla style theater. And what we're hoping to is that by paring it back that way, we really get to the core of the story. So that what it's pared down to is the actors, the text, and the story that we're trying to tell.
I love this idea. And you said it kind of guerrilla warfare
Yeah, exactly.
of this. And I love the idea that you're going into a space and it comes down to the stories and the characters. That's what it really comes down to. So I love that it's there. So that is in Duval Square for people who aren't familiar. Well, I wasn't familiar. You said the SEG Hub, and I was kind of like, and then looked up what it was, and I was like, okay, I totally know. Let's talk a little bit about the Shape Show. A unique concept. I really like the idea. How'd you come up to it and tell people at home what it is?
So I have been doing children's theater since I was a child. I've been performing for kids. And I have been wanting to write a children's show for a while, a Theater for Young Audiences show. And I wanted to make a show that any student, any actor, regardless of their age, regardless of how they identify, what their gender identity is, could be in this show and could play any part. And so I thought, I don't want to do humans. That's too easy. I don't want to do kids. I don't want to do animals. I feel like that's sort of been done before. And it came to me that a show about shapes actually offered a great way to talk about the things that I want to talk about without sort of having the constraints of, human characters, right? So the show is about a young polygon who was homeschooled their whole life, and their parents move them to a new town, and they start school, and things don't go so well. They realize, there are these standardized tests I have to take. Everybody knows all these things. There's some bullying involved, and they're finding that they're having trouble to fit in. So the show is all about inclusion and celebrating our differences, and it's actually our differences are what make us stronger and make us unique and make us great people. And also the show deals with, stresses that young people deal with, test taking and fitting in and, the pressure that their parents put on them. So it's about a 45-minute musical, and the cast consists of myself and my 3 co-artistic directors, another adult actor who is also a Rhode Island native, and then we have 9 local young actors who are in the show. And we had auditions last month. We cast them all. They're all fabulous, and we start rehearsals with them next week. We're very much looking forward to it.
That's so cool. So let's get back to the concept of this. I mean, how important was it for you to discuss kind of these core issues that are really prevalent in society right now? I mean, we're talking about bullying. That's such a heavy issue that, it is so troubling what kids and teens, even people our age, are really having to deal with right now, whether it be online or in person. How important was it for you to take something on in a theater?
So I was bullied mercilessly throughout middle school and high school, and actually I worked with Kaleidoscope Children's Theater, which is a local theater here in Rhode Island, and they have an anti-bullying school touring musical, which great. I performed in from the time I was 13 to the time I was 20. I must have done that show 600 times.
You probably could do it right now.
I will spare you the bullying rap for now. But that show, proved to me that theater actually, kids would come up to me after the show and say, I had never thought about it that way. I had never done this. And it actually did have a significant impact on people's lives. And the goal with this show that we're doing is to eventually tour it, to bring it to schools, to bring it to other communities, to bring it to theaters. And when I thought about, what is it that I wanted to talk about, bullying is a problem. It is. And it had a very big impact on my life. And so I thought that, maybe my perspective would be helpful. And then also what I wanted to talk about was, like I said, it's our differences that make us stronger, and we should really celebrate that. I love my quirkiness. I really hated it when I was like 15, when I was 14, but now I realize that, in a world of, my profession, actors, you walk into a room looking for, whatever type. I walk in and there are 10 people who are exactly like me. They are 6 feet tall, they have blonde hair, we have similar sized faces, and I thought to myself, well, what makes me different? What is going to set me apart from these people? And that's when I learned, okay, I really should celebrate these things. The other thing that was really important about this show to me is that every character is non-gendered. Yeah. So I do not put that label on any of the characters. Any student, regardless of their gender identity, can play any part in the show, and it will not be a problem. We won't have to change any pronouns. We won't have to have a discussion about it. It just is what it is. They're shapes.
That's cool. That's really cool. So when you're talking and discussing things, do you going back to the pronouns, I'm curious, do you say it or do you say the shape?
So it's they.
How does that work?
They and theirs.
Perfect.
Exactly.
That's great. And so when people were auditioning for things, were people excited about this? It sounds like such a neat concept, and maybe not original, but I like the idea that it's all inclusive and that anybody can be involved. And I think that's really inspiring right now for people to be able to go and see something like this and say, this is for me.
Yeah, we had a lot of people interested. The theater scene in Rhode Island is great. The work that local actors and performers and theater makers do is, it's where I grew up. It's how I learned to respect the art form. But there's not a lot of it. It's a small state. And so we actually found that a lot of these kids who were coming to audition were craving something more to do, something outside of school, something a step above community theater. But, not every kid can be in Christmas Carol at Trinity.
Yeah,
right?
It's true, exactly.
So we wanted to offer the opportunity for local young actors to perform on stage with professionals, which, while I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity at Trinity or at Second Story while I was here, that is not a large opportunity here in Providence. And so to bring in professional actors from New York and have them treat everyone the same
Yeah.
is exactly what we're wanting. And that experience, we're not necessarily trying to train the next class of Broadway actors. I think that theater brings people together, and the process of rehearsing a show and being in a show and teamwork and working with each other, the skills that you learn in the rehearsal hall transfer to life. So that's sort of where we are with that.
And the message as well. Teaching the message like this, whether kids are getting it or not. What are the ages of the kids in this?
So the performers are aged 8 to 16, and then the target audience is 5 to 12, so elementary and middle school. And what we hope is that maybe these older students who are 14, 15, 16, by performing this material, some of the lessons might actually translate.
Exactly.
To their personal lives, to school, and everything else.
Exactly. And when you go to see a show like this, just being able to pick up on these messages, whether they're subtle or not so subtle, being able to take that and share it. So the Shape show is running when?
So we've got 2 days of performances, June 24th and July 1st. Shows are at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Again, tickets available on our website, www.tns.org. And another important thing, quickly, just while I was writing the show, is I wanted it to be something that parents wouldn't put an ice pick through their brains when they were watching. Because I have been in those kid shows where parents are sitting in the audience like, why did I bring my child here? Oh, it's only been 20 minutes, why? I didn't want that. I wanted a show that parents are going to like, so there's, some fun little jokes. And the music, a colleague of mine wrote the music and lyrics, and it's sort of like a indie folk kind of vibe. There's a lot of ukulele, there's a lot of banjo, there's some piano, and he'll actually be playing live. So all the kids will be singing live, and all the music will be live.
Yeah,
he's like a one-man band.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Before you go, I want to take a picture and then let you get to it because you're home, so you probably want to go enjoy being...
I left rehearsal to come here and have to go back.
So you have to go to work, you have to go back to work, and then hopefully you can enjoy the fruit of being in Providence and maybe being away from the big city a little bit.
Yeah, right? It's going to be very nice. Very much looking forward to it.
Good. Well, let's snap a picture before you go.